All right. Now it's time for my 2 cents. Hey guys, it's Iwe behind the camera, and towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you my 2 cents. And as we are driving off now, I'm just gonna have a conversation with you. I'm not necessarily going to be talking about specifically just this drive that we are in right now. As much as we are on the gravel road, and so far, I think for me, it's handling the gravel road so well. But I just don't want to start there, because I need to start at a point where I had a different expectation, and I need to explain that as to why. Because, growing up for me, this was like the OG of SUVs. When I called something SUV, like we used to call it a Pajero. As long as it had a tire at the back, it's a Pajero. Don't tell me stories, whether it's a Nissan Patrol, it's a Toyota Land Cruiser, whatever that is passing next to me, it's a Pajero. Now this is the sport version of it. So now it's no longer having a tire at the back because it's a sport. And the usual Pajero for me, it's not necessarily a great looking car. So this is where it comes in, this sport one. So coming inside this car, I came in having an expectation that, okay, fine, this car is based on the buggy, the Triton. So for me, I'm like, leather chassis frame, it's off-road, it's hardcore, obviously. I'm expecting to just take it to camp, go to Namibia, and that's it, put it back. And I'm not expecting it to be living in a garage, in a city life where I'm going to be taking it every day and picking it up and just going wherever I need to go. And I was wrong. Because the moment we started this car and it released the steering wheel, started turning it when I'm driving it, and I'm like, okay, I think we have a car in here, eh? Because that's the thing that I wasn't necessarily expecting with this car. Because I'm thinking this is the most hardcore SUV I know personally. I know that there are new ones right now, like Fortuner and all those things that are there, but this has always been the original SUV. Like for me, in my mind, when I grew up, this is it. So now coming to this car and experiencing it in this way, I'm quite in shock, because the moment we got in the tar road and then we hit the high speed, I was also confused, because now it's not as hard as I expected. The engine noise that is coming in, it's so well insulated. As you would have seen on my video already, that I've spoken about the soft touch materials. There's leather coverings on the doors. There's, the way it's so well insulated, it will also shock you, because then now it's not even as noisy when it comes to the engine, because I think it's well supported by this 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's so well supported. It's not noisy. It's hitting the right revs, changing when it's supposed to change. So that's the thing that I think for me, it's quite impressive when it comes to this car. The only thing that I think was a bit of a struggle is because we started with the driving mode, the 2H. When you are on the 2H, you're basically driving on the two wheels. So it's a two-wheel drive when you're doing that. So now when you're pulling from the traffic light, for example, or when you're pulling from the start, you feel like it's pulling a bit harder a bit. I think it's the way they did it, because it's some intelligent driving mode for them. I didn't see any driving mode in terms of changing it to sport, eco, whatever. No. You only changing it there. And I think when you change there, it's also determining the kind of driving that you do, because we just went on Google and then we realized, because we don't necessarily do 4x4s all the time, when you put it on 4H, that's when then it's splitting the torque like 40-60 from front to rear. The front is taking 40 and then the rear is taking like 60. So that's when then it's way more settled. When you're pulling, it's pulling properly and so on. And then on the driving modes, when you look at the screen, it doesn't necessarily show that you are on sport or whatever, but it does tell you how economical you are. I think it adjusts to that. It reminds me of this smart driving mode in the Hyundai, where it feels how you drive and adjusts to that. You don't necessarily need to put it on sport or whatever. It will just adjust to that. When you feel like it's more heavy and you start driving it a bit like spirited, it's gonna adjust to that and start opening up for you so that you can be able to drive it that way. Oh, one thing it doesn't do though is that it doesn't make you forget that you are in a very big car. I mean, you feel like behind your head there's a hall of some sort, like there's a hall that is just behind you, that's especially when there's no one like behind. And when you're on the gravel road, it does this rattle a bit. because there's a lot of plastics at the back. You know, it's a 7-seater, so you can expect that the seats at the back, there's a bit of rattling, especially when there's no one sitting in there. And the cover, that boot thingy cover, it's also going to be rattling. We have a baby seat at the back, it's also doing some rattles, but otherwise it's way more comfortable as compared to what I had in mind in terms of a car that is being based like that is based on a buggy, and they just basically just made it an SUV. So in this case, I think they did a lot of work to make it more like car-like, and for someone to be able to live with it each and every day. I'm shocked that I'm saying this actually, because I expected much worse. You know, I was in the BT50, which has the 3-liter that I'm expecting it's going to be in the MUX. The way that 3-liter was, together with the gearbox combined, of course, it felt a bit rough and agricultural, and that's the thing that you're expecting in this kind of adventure SUVs and so on. But in here, man, I'm shocked in terms of how this car actually they made. I think Mitsubishi worked so hard to make this car feel like it's just like a daily driver. And when you're looking at the consumption as well, it's not bad, because you can easily just average around 8-9 depending on how you're driving. So that's actually a lekker thing. So let's talk competition now. Hey, you know, this car is like what? It's 133 kilowatts with around like what, 420 Newton meters. So you dealing with a competition that is pushing out like bigger numbers a bit. And when you're looking at it in that sense, you'll be like, oh, but why should I consider this car if the competition is like that? Because when you're looking at the Fortuner, the 2.8 GD6, as much as it's like a bit more expensive because it's costing around 724, you still get like around what, 150 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters. I mean, this car itself is costing around 680, I think 685, somewhere there. And then you get to Ford, you see the Everest 3.2 liter, 147 kilowatts, 470 Newton meters. You get to the MUX, the 3 liter there actually, with the 680. It's actually costing way more, at around more than 100,000 more, but you're only getting like what, 130 kilowatts and 380. I expect that the engine that is in the BT50 is going to be in there. So that's why I'm saying I'm a bit worried in terms of it being like a total competition, unless if Isuzu is going to make it more car-like when I'm looking at this one. And one thing that I think it's shocking me, as much as I don't do a lot of 4x4, I looked up as to the accolades that this car has gotten. I mean, looking at the Australian market, this car has won like the 4x4. I think they have a 4x4 Australia magazine. It won, like, it was a finalist in the 2017. In 2019, it was a finalist in the South African Guild Motoring Journalist, whatever. It was a finalist as well. This year, when they announced the car magazine results, you know, it won Car of the Year in the segment. So I truly understand now where it gets from, because whenever you talk to someone who is driving like a Fortuner, they'll be telling you that, you know, it's a bit bumpy, you know, it's more adventurous than just to live with each and every day. You need to get used to it first. But with this one, it's like, it's, you know, in music we talk about like that same time hit. For me, it felt like that because it became more than a car. Maybe it's because I expected much worse, but I'm finding it to be way more comfortable than I expected. So that's the thing that's making me to lean towards this car as a winner in this segment. Maybe I'm also convinced by the fact that it's been winning awards and so on, but I really see where they're coming from. It is not like the best car out there in terms of the layout of the dash and the screen that you're finding in here, but there's just something about it. When you start driving it, you start feeling like this is much more capable and I can live with this each and every day. That is where I come in and say you really need to check the Pajero Sport out, because yeah, I'm impressed. I have to say I'm very much impressed. You need to check it out. I'll put much more details of it like below the description and so on and so on. So with that said, I think you really need to check this one out. Thank you very much for watching. I am out.